those things, but tomorrow I'll definitely make sure. We don't know what happened to it, but we'll sort it out by tomorrow. Thank you very much once more for joining us, and welcome to the class. Today we'll have a session that we will be finishing off where the module that we were doing last week. So today is just a day to finish off that module, and then tomorrow, Rina will start with you the next module that we'll be looking at. Please allow me to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
There we go, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Right. Let me just put it on. Okay. Right. So last week we ended off where we were discussing the marketing, and we were talking into the various practices in the different organizations that we work in. So today we're moving on to the, maybe if I can just go back and talk to, yeah, we're going to the one of the last stages of the steps. Remember, we had 10 steps that we were looking at in developing your market plan. And two of those steps we're talking into the background. So basically, we're on step number 8 on the entire market plan development. So the next step that we need to look at is the budgets, the payback analysis, and the calendar. So for any project, marketing on its own, it's a project within the organization. So everything, as we all know, everything requires having a budget for it. Like we spoke about the various types of marketing, including adding samples. Also, all those things cost money, and also making sure that you have the necessary people to actually do the marketing for the company. So it's another thing that we take that into consideration. What do we look at when we're actually looking at the estimates? So you actually break down the activities as we have discussed earlier, and the objectives that you want to achieve, and we make sure that each activity, you understand what are the input costs into each activity. To try and estimate the cost, you look at the historical cost, what has been spent in the past. If you're embarking on an exercise that hasn't been done before, you try and do some research and look at what the current market, the market related cost for that particular exercise. So these are the kind of questions that you need to make sure you answer. Is what needs to be done, which is the activities, and how long is that going to take. For example, if you say you're going to have an Easter sale, what does that entail? What kind are you going to be in store and create nice displays and all that stuff? Who is going to do that? As I spoke earlier, you make sure you have competent and knowledgeable people. Or is it a function that we want to keep in-house, or is a specialized thing we like to do, where we would like to outsource? Things like, if you go to the extent of having billboards, there are companies that specialize in that. And then, when must this be done? So you make sure that you are clear that you do, your marketing plan, when things should be ready. So you make sure that you have a proper timeline. What kind of equipment will you need? We know that, for example, Red Bull, they have this kind as part of their marketing, where they buy the Mini Coopers, they brand them, So if you you have a product that needs specialized equipment, or you need to budget for that. Are you gonna buy it? Are you gonna list it? The actual branding, of the vehicle, how much is that gonna cost? Where is this going to happen? Are you gonna need various facilities? Do you have the space, or do you need to go and rent a particular space for you to actually do your marketing? So those are all the things that guide you when you're actually thinking about how to come up with a budget for your marketing. One of the other factors that we look at the payback analysis. So it's more like understanding it's like a return on the investment, cost benefit analysis. You look at, okay, this is the investment that I'm going to make. So this is how much money I'm going to spend. Will I be able to generate revenue that is going, will I be able to make a profit with all the investment that I'm going to dance, you're going to put in place? So that's what we call a payback analysis, because whatever you invest, you should generate more revenue and make more money. Otherwise, it means you're probably over investing in your marketing, or you need to relook how you can penetrate more areas, with your strategies. Or are the marketing strategies you're using sufficient to actually unlock the sales? So those are some of the things. So these are the areas where, you will have to engage some marketing experts, where you can get these reports that can give you these kinds of projected sales and revenues that you can generate. Depending on the strategy that you employ. So it's important that upfront. So as much as marketing looks like it's some kind of overhead, but to a certain extent, it's a cost center that needs to generate, it has a relationship with the sales in the organization. So that way you guard against over investing, over marketing, even though it's not going to improve your sales to that extent. So it's important that you understand this exercise. And then you develop a marketing calendar. Throughout the year, you time when you're going to do your promotions, what you're going to do at a particular point in time. Let's say this is a year where we're having Olympics, or it's the time where it's the PSL, the final rounds of the PSL. You time your adverts on TV if you're going to explore TV. If it's going to be, a special occasion like having Olympics, knowing people will be in front of the TVs, then you time your adverts to coincide with the time where a lot of people are watching the TVs and the likes. During summertime, people are outdoors. What can you do? How can you exploit that the fact that people are outdoors? You plan things. So you don't plan outside activities, promotions during winter time, where people tend to choose to stay at home. So a calendar is a marketing calendar. This is an example of a marketing calendar. So in there, you can see there is for an example, you say major promotions. There is an Easter sale. So you make sure that you know how to target the right time. There is a clearance sale. It's the end of the season, end of April, beginning of March. So if you're someone who's probably in the clothing industry, then you have your clearance sale just to make sure you prepare for the next season and remove everything that belonged to the previous season. Half price sale. You also look at those things. Television ads, as I said earlier on, you look at, what is currently happening. So this is and you make sure that you stagger the things according. If you look at this calendar throughout the year, there's something happening, but it's not happening at the same time. So you move from clearance sales to television ads. From television ads, you make sure you have displays. So you stagger it nicely that people don't forget about you, but you come in different shapes and sizes, or in different forms into their space. So this is also a continuation of the exercises that we were doing. So you will need to come up with a marketing plan for the company that we spoke about last week, the virtual company that you would have decided to choose from the 5 options that we had as your group. So this is a continuation. So looking at all the exercise, like the examples that we've shared with you, and taking into consideration the information or the questions that you need to ask yourself when you're coming up with, when you're doing the various analysis, coming up with your budgets, coming up with your calendars, you try and apply and come up with a similar product for your company. Any questions? Comments? Okay. And then the second last step is when you actually do your execution. So we can see that the execution is towards the end. So there is a lot of work. There is a lot of build up when you are coming up with the marketing plan. You know, if you're not in that space because you're not necessarily seeing the actual product, you might think that the marketing team, what are they doing? Because we don't see anything happening. But the issue is that there is a lot of work that happens in advance, but especially if it is the first time marketing is being done in an organization. But if it is this is a cycle, you know that there was already something that was happening. So when the new execution comes, it's a new it's a new marketing plan that's being implemented immediately. So you time it such that it starts exactly when the previous, usually you would have a 12-month marketing plan. So when the old one finishes, usually the following month, the new one will start. But then other people who are not part of the marketing team might not even notice that you're implementing something different. To them, it's continuation. But for the people, especially your sales directors working together with the marketing team, they know exactly that this is, we're going to implement a new strategy starting next month as informed by our new marketing plan. So these are the things. So once you actually implement, implementation or the execution calls for a lot of coordination, and that is part of the planning. So you need to know exactly who needs to participate in the implementation of your marketing plan, and make sure that, because to some extent the core businesses will have to, play a role, even though marketing will be driving the marketing plan, but the various businesses, so your operational business unit, probably the people manufacturing the product, they need to make sure that whatever was planned for the year, it is ready for it to be marketed out there if you were developing a new product. So that, hello? Is there a question? Oh, okay. Can we please mute our mics? Thank you. So it's important that as much as you're the marketing, but you understand that the other business units also play a role in making sure that there is success. Because if there is no product to market, especially if you're introducing a new product, so you must make sure that the timing coincides with whatever development is happening on the other side of the guys who are actually producing whatever you want to market. And so what is also important, follow up and review of all of the process. So you continuously follow up and review what's happening and ensure that all role players are in line, so that they understand their role, like we just said, and everybody understand what are the tools that are required to make things happen, what needs to be done, and you receive feedback from results of the activities. This follow-up and review is just to make sure that there is continuous improvement in the implementing. And these are some of the questions when we actually do an evaluation of the plans and of the plans and actually the tools before a large scale. So usually what would happen, there will be a small scale implementation of the plan, which we would refer to as the trial. So it won't be fully fledged. Only a few people will probably be aware of it. And then, just to see if it is going to work. So it's basically like a trial run just to see if things are going to work. Some of the questions that you need to ask before implementing or evaluating your strategy, you need to make sure you have you know exactly what you want to do, what are the risks and that you are exposed to, and make sure that there is a proper risk mitigation plan. The costs that we've already spoken about, what are the time constraints, as we were talking about the calendar. We all know what is what time frames are we talking about, so that we make sure that everything runs smoothly and seamlessly. And with the trial run that you've done, you make sure that you test the validity of whatever results that you got from your trial run, and take any corrective measures. These are the elements that you consider when testing: product testing, brand name testing, promotional testing. So all these things are the more specialized aspects of the marketing side of things. So you might probably look at bringing someone to just assist you, because this is more the trial part. So it's not a large scale implementation. It's just a smaller scale. It's implementation at a much smaller scale. So these are some of the things that you ask for when you're dealing with your consultant, if you choose to engage a consultant. Like the previous exercises, you look at your virtual organization again. You outline a proposed project or execution plan, which can be achieved in a 3 months period. So it's important that you come up with your marketing calendar. And then you look at what elements you may consider testing. This will be informed, of course, by the type of business you are in and the type of product that you are looking at marketing. And how will you evaluate your testing? How will you look at it in your work environment? And what will be your action plan be, as informed by the results of the actual testing that you would have done? Any comments or questions before we move on to a new topic? Is everybody still okay? Do I still have an audience?
Yes, Namisa.
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we've just wrapped up the marketing plan that we started yesterday. So today, what we'll be focusing the rest of the time on will be the business plan, how to come up with developing a business plan for your business. What does a business plan do for a business? It assists the organization to look ahead. As you're looking ahead, as we said, everything costs money. So you properly allocate your resources, and you know the key points, and you prepare for problems and opportunities. Business planning is about results, so it needs to make the contents of a plan match your purpose. So as we will unpack this, which vital for running a business, whether the business needs new loans, new investments, and new focus. But it is important because this business plan, in some cases you'll call it like your strategic plan or whatever, but this is what guides eventually. That's where the daily activities of the organization draw from. So you can call it your strat plan, you can call it your business plan, but at the end of the day, you need to have a plan to run your business. And it's not necessarily a business plan. I know that a lot of people, when you're talking about a business plan, it's more about a new venture, a new business. But the reality is that you need to always have a plan, as they say. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. You know, you guaranteed that you will fail unless, I don't know how lucky you are, but if you operate a business without a plan, a failure is going to be most probable for your business. These are the steps that we're going to be unpacking tonight. These are the various steps in business planning. So the first step is researching your business plan, and we're going to talk into detail on how you do that. The next one is the actual planning and preparation, for the business plan. The next one will be the development of the business plan, how you actually update your business plan, the actual implementation, as we said with the marketing plan as well. Then you review, you look at how things have gone and what you need to actually improve on. So as we said, like we say, businesses need plans to optimize growth. So if you don't review what your business has been doing, then the opportunities of growth might be missed, because if you don't look back and learn from the past mistakes, chances are you will continuously repeat them, and that will stagger your growth as an organization. So getting feedback from your customers and everybody, whoever is running the business, even your employees as well, what didn't work well, is good, because it means you're going to improve on the quality. The first step, which is about researching your business plan. The important thing is you need to ask yourself, who is my customer? Because remember, when we started off talking about our marketing plan, it was about fulfilling a need. So who is my customer, and what do they want? And what exactly am I trying to do for the customer? So this determines your market in a specific target market. This is an example of what you look at when you actually researching your business plan. So you capture it. It's not prescribed, but this is a format that puts it nicely there. That you will have your company. An example here, we're looking at a bank. The line of business is the banking and broker services. What is the idea that this bank has? We are going to give a cash bonus to every 2,000th person who signs up for a Millennium check or savings account. So you can see here we are trying to capture a market. So we're going to make sure we push the sales in the form of sign-ups and all that stuff. Hence, you are even offering a cash bonus, which is some kind of a marketing strategy. Market analysis, you would have done that in the past. So market analysis, talking about your target market. In here, Millennium Bank is looking at young adults between 25 and 35, urban, employed, income above 30,000, 3,000 per month. What are the legal requirements that you're looking at? You're looking at Banking Act and the Companies Act. So if you're looking at adults between 25 is usually people who have some are just starting working, others have probably about 2 or 1 year experience working. So you're targeting the young and up and coming individuals. So when you're looking at this, you probably need to look at these are young people. They don't have a lot of complex banking needs. You might see if you can have packages like on your savings account, the costs, the banking charges, try and minimize in the, and all those things. So this, so as in the previous one, so you will be required to come up with your own presentation as far as researching a business plan, and this is so you as a group will just have to present to us. So any questions on the example that we've put up here? It's clear. So people will not have challenges in coming up with a report on their researching. I think it's quite straightforward. So depending on which sector you've actually selected, so you need to familiarize yourself with the regulatory environment, the applicable laws and regulations for this particular business. And then the next phase, I think is something that most of us are familiar with, going through, like I said, a business plan, it takes a similar process like your strategic plan. So basically, we need to look at the vision of the organization. What is a vision? It is a statement that describes the idealistic situation that the organization wants to strive towards. It's usually the dream of the founder of an organization. Example is like you want to be the largest retailer of automobiles in South Africa, or you want to be the maker of the finest chocolate candies in Limpopo. So that is the dream. That is the dream of the organization. That's where it starts. And then, we are in property development. Most of us are in the space. So you want to build a portfolio of 100 billion. 50 billion, a portfolio of 50 billion assets in your whatever. It's a dream, and usually with your dream, it could take you 20 years, 30 years. It's entirely up to you. But what is important is that at the end of the day, you need to be able to break it down into small steps of how are we going to reach that particular dream. So usually when we do visions, it becomes open-ended, and then you bring it down with your strategic objectives, which need to be more specific about how the journey is going to be. The vision must be sufficiently clear and concise that everyone in the organization understands it. And as soon as everybody understands what we are all working towards in an organization, then you find that people take pride in this vision. They become passionate about it. They develop loyalty as well. It starts. It creates the excitement in the organization. So it's important. Everything starts with a dream. Everything starts with a dream. Someone sits there and thinks, "This is what I'd like to do," and then it grows from there. But you just need to understand that from having a vision, you need to bring it down and have all the other things that will take your vision into reality. It provides a roadmap for the organization, and it also promotes change. Like we said, it is a basis for a strategic plan. It also enhances a wide range of performance measures. So it is clear that companies with a clear vision outperform those companies that do not possess a vision, because when it is clear, everybody is clear on where the company is going, and every time when you want to make a decision or want to propose something, you ask yourself, how does it fit into the vision? But if the vision is not clear, managers might end up pursuing things that not necessarily will eventually push towards a vision. All they know is that we need to make a profit, but it's beyond the profits. A vision is something that's beyond the profits. It's, those taglines, largest retailer of automobiles in South Africa. So it calls for you to understand what's happening in the automobile industry. What is my competition doing? You kind of get channeled, and like I said, it makes decision making to get into a context, and it provides focus and direction for everyone in the organization. And then from the vision, we move on to the mission. What is a mission? A mission is a strategy that looks inward at the organization. So when you're talking about vision, you're outward looking, because if you're saying I want to be the largest automobile manufacturer in South Africa, you are talking to your competitors out there. They are already players in the market. So you are talking to those individuals. You're looking at competition. You're looking at strategies on how you can do better than your competitors, introduce new things. You can buy other companies, so it's a total different thing. So when you say mission now, you're looking inward, and you're asking mostly, what am I supposed to do? As much as I said I want to be the biggest, whatever, I take all that into consideration and saying, what am I supposed to do to actually achieve my vision? Like we said, to be the largest retailer of automobiles in South Africa, you need to decide whether it is a better strategy for you to buy other retailers, or you try and grow a single retailer. So you need to figure out what is missing currently in the market. What can you improve? What can you do better? Or you can look at your competition and look at actually taking them over and build those companies. So we've seen that some companies were built from taking over other businesses. Others were started from scratch. So there are different strategies out there in trying to achieve your vision. So as we say, vision is what your organization wants to achieve, which is the dream. A mission is what are you going to do to achieve your vision. The operational plan or the tactics is how will you achieve your strategy and by when. Like we said, when we now go down, we deal with the objectives, which as we will find going forward, we will then look at the actual activities. So how are you going to operationalize this vision that you have? For some class discussion now, with everything that we've discussed, we just need to have a class discussion on what you think the visions on the missions of the various organizations are. For example, we have Coca-Cola. We spoke about it last week. So is there anyone who would like to give it a try on what you think the mission and the vision for Coca-Cola are? Hello, anyone? Do we have any takers? Do I still have an audience?
Yes, we are still here.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Right. Or if you were in Coca-Cola, what do you think? Or we look at Coca-Cola, we look at Nike, we look at All Gold. All Gold is a brand under Tiger Brands, and then you also have Vital Health. So someone can give me whatever they think. You can speak about Nike, you can speak about Coke, you can speak about All Gold. What do you think are the visions for these various companies? And having watched what they're doing, what do you think their mission is?
Can we say that the mission, the vision is to be the best, or the best in their field, for example? I'm going to generalize, because we're all working to be the best, right? And then when other companies pop up in the same market as us, then the vision is obviously to be the best in the field. So I would say Coke, Nike, and All Gold and Vital Health is obviously all these guys have competitors, and the vision now is to be the best. We spoke about Coke and we spoke about their competitors. We about three or four of us spoke and said that obviously Coke has the best taste compared to Pepsi. Nike is loved by a lot of people. So they've obviously outdone themselves in that regard. The vision, can I say the vision is to obviously now you're in a market where you're trying to sell your product, not for people just to like you. So the vision I can say is to outsell and sell as many products as possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Alex. I think also what's important, yes, you want to outsell, and your competitors as well want to outsell, but what are you selling them? I'm not sure if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
For example, are you selling prestige? So you say the most prestigious thing. Okay, Nike is a running shoe, the most comfortable shoe, or the most whatever. So I think let's try and think about Nike and look at what is Nike doing that the others are probably not doing, because I've seen shoes that look like with interesting heels, Nike. They are pointed. It's like it's alien shoes. But then you ask yourself, okay, what is this shape trying to achieve? I'm not sure if you understand. Is it an aerodynamic thing? What are they selling? You understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
as much as they want the sales, but what are they selling to you? Are they selling comfort? Are they selling speed? Are they selling you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you think about Nike, what do you think they are selling? I know we're not marketers, but just you thinking about Nike, because Nike is always on our faces. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like this is just a well shot. I would say they are selling comfort, exclusivity, what else? That you belong to a certain group. I mean, we see Nike and we associate Nike with a lot of events and a lot of sports people. All right. And as far as sponsorship as well is concerned, a lot of sports people, a lot of events. I mean, you look at soccer events, netball, whatever it may be, you will not miss seeing the swoosh sign. All right. And you kind of relate that to exclusivity and engagement as well, that you belong to a certain group that is exclusive in a way. Like also BMW, when people talk about BMW, they talk about how exclusive they are. We have the term the term exclusive toys for boys was even coined, and a lot of drivers use that. All right. So say that Nike as well is in that is in that club, because when you also compare the prices and how many people wear Nike compared to Adidas or Puma, there's a lot more. There's a lot more. You will come across Nike every second person that you walk across, in the market or down the street, and it just makes you feel part of an elite exclusive club.
Yeah.
And also they partnered with Apple, for example, where again Apple is seen as an elite product or a niche market, and people who can afford. So they partnered with Apple and their iPod a couple of years ago, where you could pair Nike running shoes with your iPod, so that when you're running, you've got music, and then it could also take your heartbeat and the distance that you're running more. It's only now that the Garments have come along and done this, whereas Nike had been in that game long time ago, where you can pay your watch, your shoes, and your phone
And your
to
phone, yeah.
yeah to measure the distance you're running, heartbeat, and how well you sleep at night. Only now the Garments and all these guys are in it now, but Nike had done that long time ago with iPods. So it was a class of niche products coming together and forming this, and then people who associate themselves with Nike will be like, you know what, I'm in an elite club. I'm in this, very niche market of products.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex.
All right.
Any other takers? Maybe let's go and see what Nike is saying. Nike's mission statement, Nike vision is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. So that is what their vision is. So I think it goes, to as you said, they've been innovators. They've been doing things others are kind of following, like you, Alex was indicating, that the shoes could work with iPods and the likes and the likes. And their mission statement is to do everything possible to expand human potential. We do that. I think it goes to the sponsorships that they do. For an example, I think Naomi Osaka won the US Open this past weekend. Yes. And then,
Yes.
now when they talk like that, you're like, yeah, there she is. She won she has expanded her potential in tennis, and she won the championship. So, when they associated with brands like that, you're like, you know what, probably those clothes are that comfortable, the shoes are that comfortable, they can make, they create, Serena Williams, for the longest of time. I think she's still there. Is she still there? She also has been there. Tiger Woods has been there. The big names that have achieved things. So you can see that people, they've reached their potential, So, yeah. So one of the things is that they do that by creating groundbreaking sport innovations, by making our products more sustainable, by building a creative and diverse global team, and by making a positive work. Look at what Naomi did. The masks that she brought. I think she played 7 games. So every time she went to play a game, she wore a mask of because remember, it's an American, it's a US championship. So the seven, the names of 7 individuals that have died under police brutality, if you can call that. So about George Floyd and the likes. So you can see positive impact in communities where we live and work, creating the awareness. So in a way, it's saying Nike, because I don't think Naomi could have just worn those masks without discussing it with Nike, just to make sure that there is no conflict in there. So automatically you then see Nike supporting this thing. The mask itself might not have the Nike tick, but the fact that she is wearing it together with the Nike outfit, it tells you a lot about Nike, So yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. So Nike can generate demand for its products through successful marketing campaigns, primarily driven by endorsement contracts with top athletes, just spoken about, public figures that make its brands always top of minds of consumers. And so sometimes they would sell probably shoes, Nike shoes, and then signed by Naomi Osaka. So even if you were not looking for Nike shoes, but because they have Naomi Osaka's name, she signed them, you will probably find yourself in there, buying those shoes. So those are some of the deals that they make, which are very, they work for them. And And they really guard their brands very closely, because I remember a case, Tiger Woods, where he was I think he was embroiled in domestic violence matter. The sponsors ran away. It happened to Oscar Pistorius before he could even be convicted in a court of law. Adverts were, people were pulling, billboards were being taken down, things were being,
True.
so they're very protective of our brands, of their brands. I think not just Nike. Tiger Woods was also somewhere with KPMG. Also, KPMG quickly stripped him of the sponsorship. So it's really, really, it's good benefits, but you as an individual, you must understand what that means, because no brand is going to go down with you if you get that endorsement. Your behavior is important. You can't be being arrested every weekend for drunken driving when you are supposed to be their ambassador. So those things, you might think you have a life. I'm sure it's clearly detailed in the contracts that these athletes sign, or whoever has been chosen to endorse the product. Because if you go down, then it gives the impression that that particular brand is endorsing this particular behavior that a person is engaging in. So that's what Nike is about. Any takers on Coca-Cola? CD, are you there? Munasi, I'm not sure if people are still available. I know I've got some messages that some of our colleagues are experiencing load shedding. All right, let's just look at what Coke is selling. So their purpose, it's to refresh the world and make a difference. Vision is loved brands done sustainably for a better shared future. So you can see that, better shared future is to make a difference. So the vision is to craft the brands and choice of drinks that people love, to refresh them in body and spirit, and done in ways that create a more sustainable business and better shared future that makes a difference in people's lives, communities, and our planet. So you can see that a lot of companies are really concerned about giving back to the communities. Nike has spelled it out. You can see Coke as well is spelling it out. So you would find Spazashov getting branding, a name, your what can I say? The board or the name tag of a spaza shop sponsored by Nike, by Coca-Cola. You see a lot of that in the townships, and just to make sure they contribute and make the spaza shop look more professional, just by that kind of branding that's happening in there. So the how do we do it? It's more the mission part. So we're taking it from what the vision was saying. So the loved brands, what are they saying about that? They've got passion for people in their lives, cutting edge excellence in ingredients, innovation, design, and marketing, investment for leadership across categories in purposeful brands that consumers love. They act globally and locally. They create powerful partnerships with bottling systems to bring brands to life in the market. So we know ABI, I think it's called Amalgamated Bottling. I'm not sure what the I stands for. So Coca-Cola, is part of their value chain, and I think they have ownership in the bottling side of things as well. So they don't just make the drinks, but they also own part of the bottling side of things. The sustainability side, what do they look at? They look at facts based on science, so they do a research in whatever they do. They grow, grow businesses while reducing sugar. So, contributing to the well-being of the people. I think we've seen that a lot. Most of the fizzy drinks that were there, the taste has changed a bit because you can see that the sugar has been reduced and probably replaced by some sweeteners, but not the same amount of sugar that was there in the past.
Mbisa?
Yes, Alex?
Talking about the sugar issue, I want to see the group and see how many people are for the change and how many people are against this change. Because I honestly believe that it was a bit unfair for people who, like me, who drink Coke on a weekly basis. And the taste is just completely changed, and all this because of laws that now caused these companies to cut down on sugar. I believe that it's unfair for someone to live on McDonald's and Coke 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and then blame McDonald's to say your food made me fat. And Coke has too much sugar, and I've got diabetes now because of Coke. Obviously, that's the result that you're going to have. If I drink 10 cups of sugar every day, there's going to be consequences. What is your take on this issue of sweet beverages companies having to cut down on sugar because of the law and because of other people's lifestyles? What is your take on that?
Okay, let's put it to the class. Anyone who'd like to give it a try?
And this goes for everything else. I mean, with butter as well. There's butters where fat contents have been cut down. It's drinks. It's sweets. Now everything that we buy that has products or chemicals that are now deemed unhealthy by the government, we now have to pay an extra amount to use these things. Is that fair? What is people's take on this?
Okay, thank you, Alex, for that. Any takers? Anyone who'd like to make a contribution in this?
Mbisa?
Yes, is that Kabelo?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So
please go ahead, Kabelo.
If you look at it from the perspective of the government, let's take South Africa for example. It's too expensive to be distributing medicine either for diabetes and everything like that. Looking also at the state of the economy, right? So if you're trying to manage this problem at the end, you will not be able to manage it because it's been proven. No offense to anyone, but people at times are not responsible beings. Like Alex is saying, if someone chooses to drink 10 cups of coffee and they get sick, guess what? They become the burden of the government. So the government has no choice but to curb this thing at source, because in us doing business, we must do business responsibly. To put it out in the public of edicts to say that cut down on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 might prove impossible. Hence now, I'm for the idea that the government must regulate this thing from source because we are consumers. Whatever you produce, we will consume. So if the government does not keep it from source, it will keep spending money on medication.
Okay. Thank you, Kabelo. Thank you. Yeah, those are some of the things that are taken into consideration. Anyone else would like to give it a try? Timakato? Okay, I think this, you can also look at it. Is there someone who's trying to? Oh, okay. A typical case that we just come from during COVID. Government was looking at consequences. They were trying to manage things that could, especially during level 5 and 4, we were not sure what we were dealing with. research was still undergoing. When they cut down on, shut down alcohol, the sale of alcohol, because people, when they consume alcohol, they become, friendly, and, we all know that they say that alcohol kinds of diminishes your thinking capability to a certain extent, and you probably won't be remembering your social distancing when you are intoxicated. So those were some of the things that the state was thinking of. And also they were at a position where, research was being conducted on how this is transmitted. So anything that can result in some kind of irresponsible behavior, could, at the end of the day, when you have, like Gabelo just said, you become the burden of the state. I remember a while back, there was an argument on the drug nevirapine, which is a drug that stopped transmission from mother to child. And before it was proven that the drug can work, but then one of the assertions that were being made, or the government was accused of taking longer to actually approve this drug to be distributed in South Africa, even though it was proven that it can stop the transmission, because they were saying the government was worried about who is going to take care of those babies when the mothers pass on from the HIV and AIDS. So those were some of the accusations that were made towards the government. That's why they were dragging the feet in actually distributing the drug. So, the government always looks at what, when practices are done, that looks at what brings, what is it? What the consequences will mean for them, because they still need to take care. I mean, the Bill of Rights, people have a right to health, amongst other things. So even if you can't afford your medical bills, the state has a responsibility to actually provide you with healthcare. So as Gabelo is saying, so I think as much as what can I say? As much as we are all adults, but not all of us, sometimes you're like, it's once off, I'll eat the McDonald's. But the reality is that when you're sick, you can't be turned away and be told that you chose to be unhealthy. So these are the consequences, deal with it. The Bill of Rights requires the state to take care of you if you can't afford your own medical bills. Another thing that has probably just outside of marketing and everything, you go out there and take a retirement annuity fund and invest in a retirement annuity fund. Guess what? The state still has a say on how the payout is going to happen. As much as you were the one contributing on a monthly basis during the young years, but they have that you will get 1/3 lump sum and the rest will come as annuity, because once you finish that, because remember, during the years when you were working, they were giving you a rebate to encourage you to contribute to a retirement annuity. So when you're doing your tax returns, that cost becomes tax deductible in a way as an incentive and an encouragement that you actually, you will pay less tax, because these contributions to your retirement annuity are deductible, so you pay less tax. It's a way of trying to encourage you to do that so that there is less burden on the state. But even when your money comes, there are regulations regulating, of course, coming from the government, regulating how the money will be dispersed to you, because they don't want you now to finish all your money and come back and join the queue of people who are just getting the pure government grants, So yeah, the state tries and that way, if they can manage what you do with your retirement annuity, it frees up money so that they can take care of other social responsibilities that they have towards other people in the population. So those who can afford to to plan for their future, they are encouraged, and also in a way try and inculcate some kind of responsible behavior by ensuring that you don't get your whole lump sum and spend it within 2 years and everything is finished and then come back to the state. So I think, So Alex, I'm not sure if what is your take on this?
I understand, and Kabelo made a point that we become the responsibility of the government. I just don't think it's fair on all the people, though. There are people who decide to live healthy. They will not have, they'll only have maybe one glass of Coke per week or per month. They will exercise, and then it's the recklessness of other people that cause now those who choose to live so-called healthy lifestyle to now have to pay for other people's recklessness. I think it's unfair. I just wanted to have the people's take on the cutting down of sugar and having to pay more for that Coke if you want to have it. Because one thing me and my wife did is we kind of like counted up, or she counted up the bottles of Coke that she had been keeping up until now, like for the year. And funny enough, it came down to over 50 bottles. And this equates to a bottle of Coke a week. And it started making me think as to our consumption, all right, and lifestyle, etc.
So have you cut down these bottles? That doesn't mean you've cut down, or what does it mean? And you started counting now that they've reduced the sugar? Or is that your normal daily consumption?
It's just one of those. She's all for healthy living, and I'm just like, you know what? This is Coke's mission statement. They want people to have fun when they have their meals, right? And for me, there's nothing that goes down well with a meal like a good glass of cold Coke. All right. So every now and then. And it's not like every day I go out and buy a Coke. It's not. There are times when I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to have water. But now, over the course of the year, you will buy your Coke, etc. And for us, we kept some of those bottles, and it just came out to be over 50 bottles, and it's like almost a bottle a week. Okay. I do exercise. I do have my water on a regular basis. I know how important it is, but it just made me think about how many people out there will go out and have takeaway every day. I pay attention. I'm very attentive when I drive past drive-throughs or fast food restaurants. On a weekly basis from 5 p.m. up until 8 p.m., you will see how these queues start filling up, because I think people don't want to go home and cook after working. And it is the case every day. So it made me think about the impact, the consequences of this, having takeaways and your Cokes on a daily basis every day versus deciding to cook at home, and because cooking at home is considered as eating healthy. All right. I've done the whole food business thing. I've been a cook, a chef, etc. It's not so much that McDonald's is unhealthy. It's not that. It is the choice to eat McDonald's or KFC or Debonairs or Roman's Pizza. It is having that every day. That is an unhealthy choice that then has the consequences on our bodies not too long after we have these things every day. All right. So the for government to go and say, you know what, we're going to ban sugar, and everyone who wants to have Coke every day must pay an extra for it. In a way, it's being responsible for the people. In a way, I feel unfair on people who decide, you know what, I'm going to have water today, versus people who decide I'm gonna have Coke every day. I'm gonna put my kids lunch, pack my kids lunch with Coke every day, or juice every day, and it's just I feel is a bit unfair.
And I think let's look at the unfairness when now the health system is so overstretched and your taxes must go up to refund it.
Exactly. It has severe
So rather,
implications.
you,
Anything else.
personally, I think rather it's unfair. You know, at the end of the day, the body gets used to the taste. Sometimes, you know, you can wean yourself off sugar completely. It's a matter of time. The body adjusts, you know.
Yes.
Because if you don't do that, then you will have the burden where the taxman now increases the sugar tax and also just general tax on other
Yeah.
things, because the health system is overstretched and we can't get any more loans to fund further, you know, investments in the health sector and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, if you have an unhealthy population, how are we going to be productive? Half the time are on sick leave. So, you know, the ripple effect becomes bigger and bigger. You know, when you are told the GDP has gone down, we are not happy. But then if half the time the population is not healthy, is off sick, not as productive, what's supposed to bring the GDP up if productivity has gone down? So it becomes a huge ripple effect. Everybody will suffer at the end of the day. So, you know, you just need to weigh what is more important. For example, now, with Discovery Health, do you know that Discovery Health has the life side of things? And so if you take out their life cover, you are on Discovery Health and you do that annual assessment, and they tell you that, you know what, you are a 45-year-old, but your health assessment says you are 49 years old. You need to start reducing on this and this and this and that. And you don't comply with the recommendations. Do you know that at the end of the day, when you have to claim from the life cover, they sometimes repudiate the claim because they say you didn't meet your side of the bargain, you didn't meet your side of the commitment. We said we'll pay you, but we did advise you to cut down on 1, 2, 3, and 4.
But then again, that's just for people who can afford it. I mean, how the big part of South Africans cannot afford medical things like Discovery, where you can do this. A whole lot of people are not insured, and a whole lot of people would not necessarily go for Discovery. I think people who go for that are people who are working and can afford it. Because if you look at a life package from Discovery versus, I don't know, there are so many medical aids nowadays and life covers. People will go for like, look, I work and what I can afford is 150 Rand versus going for Discovery and paying 1,200 Rand a month for these benefits. So not everyone will have that added benefit to say Discovery will check up on my health and this and that.
But then look at it this way. If Discovery doesn't pay out, the debts you're leaving behind, businesses are going to suffer, because whoever you leave behind, you live with these debts. Debts must be written off and whatever. So it becomes a ripple effect, you know, their contribution to the economy and the likes. So it's not just about people. The burden is not necessarily, this one is indirect, because now if the people you leave behind can honor the debts you're leaving behind because you didn't insure properly, what happens to the businesses that you own, that you owe, you understand? Therefore, indirectly affecting the economy, imagine one person doesn't own that much, but imagine now more people leaving debts that are not taken care of. How does that affect the economy? So I think because we are seeing I'm sure there is a way of assessing how healthy the population is based on the stats from the hospitals. And the state has figured out that these are the biggest killers in South Africa. We need to tackle them. You understand what I'm saying?
I hear
So
you.
unfortunately, the benefits become, the state looks at like the cost of, if we leave this unattended and we don't intervene, the cost to the state eventually will be too much, or not necessarily directly, but into the country for all the citizens of the country.
Do you feel that things are changing in South Africa in terms of the way we take care of us and our health since this sugar tax? Because we are the second most obese nation in the world after America, and honestly, I think that sugar tax will not cut it. Unfortunately, as far as people taking care of themselves, I might stay away from Coke and the sugar, but in the meantime, I'm eating fatty foods, oily foods, etc., and eating 10 meals a day. That's also something to consider as far as health.
I think, like any strategy, you review and see if it is working. But I promise you, even if it's a very, very small percentage, but you are biting the elephant one step at a time, because the sugar does make a contribution. We just probably need to keep on looking on the how, on the extent of how it's being implemented, and also look at the other things, because one of the biggest things that is the heart condition, hypertension and whatever, which is more linked to the fatty foods that you're talking about and the cholesterol. So probably the state will start looking at that as well, that, how can we manage that? But the reality, we need a healthy population to have a productive country. I think for me, that's the gist of it all.
Okay.
Can I quickly say something, please?
Yes, Brina.
If I can just, sorry, I always compare with Ireland, but I think our government is moving to this international health laws, or what they call it. Because they've started with the sugar, because the sugar is one of the most important one. And you will see now on most of the food that you're buying in the shops will give you in front, not at the back anymore, to say how much fat, what is the contents of it. And the government is now actually going to fine the manufacturers and suppliers of the food if it's not according to the rules and regulations.
No, thank you, Rina.
I think it's a process that must be, implemented, and it will slowly go in. It's not something that they can do fast.
Have you ever thought about the fact that it's also how many times a day some people eat? Do you think if there's a sugar tax now, should we also get taxed on how many times we eat in a day?
I think it's your personal thing. If you've got a lot of money and you're prepared to pay the tax, nobody can tell you how many times you can eat.
What about the poor who can afford these things?
No, but I think the poor will be the healthiest then at the end of the day. But I think, really, if you just consider, as you say, Coke, I must tell you one thing. If you go outside the country, Europe or Ireland or wherever, you know what a bottle of Coke is costing there now? Nearly 60 Rand.
Whoa.
Yeah. So slowly, the food that is that they actually want not to use, they're going to start I think put more tax on it or up the prices.
Yeah, and also they start like the Coke doesn't taste the same throughout the world. So governments decide, you can think the Coke in South Africa is horrible, When you get to the UK, it's even worse because South Africa accepts a certain level of sugar for Coca-Cola, but when you get to the UK, they even slashing it even further, you know.
Okay.
So if the problem compounds, the Coke is gonna keep on getting worse, Alex. It's gonna end up being more bitter, yeah, depending on where they think the problem lies.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, as we were saying, so they're looking at the sugar, they're also looking their responsibility towards water, because remember, Coke takes a lot of water and we have water shortage in the country. So they must contribute and make sure that water security is something they contribute on. Carbon footprints with the factories, source more sustainably and ethically, and also better shared future. This is talking more to their personal growth and talent in their organization, also looking at creating value for customers, support our local communities. You've seen a lot of sporting leagues that are sponsored by Coke, because as we not happy about the sugar content, but they also engage in activities that promote health and all that stuff. You kind of sweat off that sugar. Also, it becomes a kind of, try and balance out. But the reality is that they're selling Coke that has sugar, but they contribute to other more healthier options. And then I think we also had All Gold. This is what I could find from Tiger Brands. Vision is to be the world's most admired branded consumer packaged goods company in emerging markets, and to be a high-performing, fast-moving consumer goods company with leading brands operating across the globe in several selected emerging territories. So you can see the target market is emerging markets. So when you get to the US, you don't look for tomato sauce, All Gold. You'll find the ketchup.
Is it just me or am I losing you?
I think she's breaking.
Yeah.
Numisa, are you coming back? These networks are a big problem.
Yeah.
Target market is
Numisa,
Hi, can you hear me?
now we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. Can I just quickly, Rena, just send you my presentation so that if I lose you again. Okay, looking at, what is this? Tiger at Vital Health. We were looking, okay, can you just give me a few seconds? Okay, so we're looking at the Vital Foods. It was not really coming out strongly in terms of their visions, but it's a leading vitamin and healthcare supplement manufacturer. That sounds more like a vision. Their practices are no compromise approach in giving their consumers what they need. So they also look at complementary medicine, health supplements, and foods that are easily accessible and convenient. So that sounded more like their mission, making sure that the goods are accessible. They also offer other supplements. They just want to have strong families that are healthy and live happy lives. Right. As part of your planning and preparing another aspect, going hand in glove with your vision, mission, strategic objectives, I think we're all familiar with the objectives that need to be SMART, meaning they need to be simple, everybody understands them, they are unambiguous, they are measurable, so you have specific targets that can be objectively measured. They are achievable and realistic. They must be relevant to the organization. They directly address. They need to directly address the problems for it to be relevant, going back to the needs analysis that we started the marketing with. And they must be time bound, so the time frames must be realistic. So what we'll need to do is, as we spoke about earlier with the virtual organization, you'll need to be spoken in detail about the various visions of the various companies, the missions, the strategic objectives that you need to come up with for your organization, and what strategy or tactics operational, how are you planning to operationalize your strategic objectives to make sure that eventually the vision is achieved. We move on to the next step in the business planning. It's the development of the business plan. Your business plan, to be complete, will need to have an operational plan, a financial plan, and a marketing plan. We've spoken to detail about the marketing plan. And this is the format that you can adopt. It's not prescribed by anyone, but it's a format that makes your business plan look presentable. What is advisable is that you write your executive summary last. So you go into detail with everything, because remember, your executive summary is like a 1-page, 2-page that highlights everything that you've looked at. So it will touch on your product, it will touch on your market, your target market, your strategy and implementation, who is the team, the financial plan, and the marketing plan. So these are the things that you need to have in your business plan. When we're talking about an operational plan, we're talking about the actual activities that need to be done. So we look at the work breakdown structure. So that's what your operational plan should talk to. And these activities should have clear timelines. And what is important is that you always begin with the end in mind. So if you need to have something done by a particular date, you work backwards and make sure that you don't compromise your end date, and make sure that the activities need to fit in, into what you want to achieve, and it should be delivered on time. And what is also important is resource allocation with all the activities that you've outlined and the timelines, because the timeline sometimes will determine how big the team is. So if you have a short timeline to deliver, then you'll probably have a bigger team working on this to make sure that things are delivered on time. Have a bigger team working on. So you look at your human resources that you need, what kind of a material, equipment, and physical resources, meaning, the facilities that you will need. Where is this going to take place? So those things are very important. If you want to open a factory, those are the things you need to take into consideration. What equipment do I use? where can I build the factory? So you make sure that you find a piece of land in an industrial area, so that you not shut down. You operate in a properly zoned area. And then coming up with your financial plan. This is so you need to have a budget. And the budget, once you have your budget, you have a cash flow in terms of exactly how much money do you need at what time, and how is it supposed to flow. So you know exactly the expenditure and when the money will come in. So you need to also be in a position to project your sales. As much as you came up with your budget, the budget is usually looking more from a cost point of view. And then you're on the cash flow, you need to also bring in the element of the revenue, just to see, what are the expectations. And then at the end, you produce some kind of income statement balance sheet that shows your budget, your proposed budget, and the cash flow, therefore comparing your actual expenditure against what you budgeted for. You investigate any variances that are not in line with what you had anticipated. And if it calls for actually relooking your budget going forward, as much as it is said that a proper budget shouldn't be continuously adjusted, but you can imagine that with COVID-19, definitely budgets are going to be adjusted, as the Minister of Finance did issue or present a supplementary budget, because things that couldn't have been anticipated happened. And working on the budget that was presented in February would be pointless, and in a way you're managing nothing that way, because remember, a budget is a management tool for you to know if you are still in track, what is happening, is the business so that you can make proper decisions to stop certain things or continue or change certain things going forward. So if your budget is not reflective, it stops serving its purpose as a management tool for an organization. So that's what basically needs to go into your financial plan. Just like all the other concepts we've discussed, then you continue and doing the same for your virtual organization as part of your exercise, looking back at all the thing at the slide, this information that we've provided to you. And then what is also important as far as the budget, it needs to be presented. I think we've come across, especially individuals who've been in the working environment, you've come across that there is a time where the budget needs to be presented. So you can work on your budget all you want and do the research, but someone still needs to approve, because the bottom line is that you can't just, someone in the organization needs to make sure that the funds flow. And remember, when you're sitting as a manager or as a cost center or a business unit, you are planning for your activities. But what you need to remember, that there is someone at the top who's looking at everything that's supposed to make the organization work. So, you present your budget as your wish list, but half the time budgets are chopped and changed, by individuals at a senior level, where they can see the bigger picture of everything, just to make sure that, the budget, the funds are always limited, but activities are unlimited. There are many things that we would like to do, but unfortunately, because of the scarce resources called money, not everything you want you will get. But what is important, the job of the executive and the boards and the shareholders is to make sure that you don't compromise such that the organization can't move. So you make sure that you pass a budget that will make sure the organization will be able to move forward and achieve its objectives as far as it can. And that's the point where then decisions will be made. If we're going to use reserves, how we're going to fund this budget. Are we using reserves? Going to mix it with some kind of loans, debt from the bank, and shareholders might be asked to inject some money. It's different methodologies that are put in place, but those decisions happen at that much higher level. It's really that they are communicated at the junior level how the budget is funded, but the individuals at the top, hence they need to sign off because they are the ones who actually take the risk. If, for example, you go out and source loans from financial institutions and the likes. In some areas, what would be done, just like your marketing plan, even your strat plan, it's also in some cases, your business plan is tested through a small scale pilot project just to see the viability, if everything will work. And completion of the pilot, it is important to take into consideration the results of the pilot and update the business plan with the lessons learned, especially if there are many changes that are being introduced, just to test if those changes will actually work. Similar exercise, so you'll have to go through, prepare with all the work that you've done. You make sure that you prepare a presentation, remember. So you will have, if you can go back, your presentation will have to summarize your financial plan, your operational plan, and your marketing plan, linking them back to the strategic objective. Eventually, everything needs to be costed, so that's how your budget will be presented. But it's still, so as much as you present the numbers, but you must have a way of demonstrating how these numbers link back to the strategic objectives and the vision of the organization. The last steps is implementation and review. Now the operational managers come together, and the staff and supervisors, to outline the plan and what are the operational requirements. So it's more about coordination, and you schedule what needs to be done in line with the business plan. So each individual focuses on their portion of the business plan, but ensuring that there is proper coordination, because some activities depend on other business units to give them feedback and the like. So that coordination is very important, and the resource allocation, of course. So what is important, like we've just said, is to always monitor and review the progress. So just because it's a 12-month business plan, operational plan, strategic plan, usually it is monitored monthly by the managers, their monthly meetings, and then quarterly the board will come on board and look at the progress, looking at all the various aspects of the business, and to make sure that everything is working hand in glove. And or areas that are mostly monitored, the operational targets, the financial plan, and return on investment. At the end of the day, you run a business to make the profits. So it's important to always keep track of your numbers, if they are telling you what you would like to see, and if not, what intervention can you put in place. Like we've said, so you also need to run an exercise in terms of what review mechanisms will you put in your organizations, what indicators will help you to monitor. So these will differ depending on the kind of business you are in, and so what is important is so you need to identify the mechanisms and indicators you'll use, and how will you conduct your monitoring, and what specifically in your business do you think is the most important things to monitor. So, you look at the signs or the indicators that reflect the money aspect and the drivers of the money in your business. Business plan summary. So a business plan summary, a business plan is hard to implement unless it's simple, specific, realistic, and complete. I think going in line with the objectives we're talking about, the checking in and follow up is still reiterated in there. So the kind of clues that you need to check for on your business plan: is the plan simple? Is it easy to understand and to act on? Does it communicate its contents easily and practically? So you need to be very concise and not say, we want to be the best in the market. What does the best mean? Define so that best can be measured. What is a plan specific? Talking about the measurability of things. Do you have specific actions and activities? So having that proper schedule of what needs to be done and the dates and the calendars is very important. The people that are responsible, so that you know exactly who to hold accountable or who to talk to in terms of what needs to be done. Is the plan realistic? That's the other thing, because plans that are not realistic can kill staff morale or the people who are supposed to implement. They look at it and like, where do I start? And they just lose all the energy. So it's important to make sure that your plan is realistic. It's things that can be done. And is your plan complete? Do you have all the necessary elements to make sure that the vision and the missions and the strategic objectives will be achieved? So as much as you say planning is a process, it is not just a plan. It's a living document that needs to be continuously monitored, that needs to be continuously if needs be, in cases where there are things beyond which couldn't be anticipated, needs be, it could be changed. But if things are not, what can I say? If your plans and your budget don't work, then there is a problem with how you come up with plans. That is what you need to address, but not just is you not meeting your targets, you just change the target. It's not how it works. You need to understand why are the targets not being met, what is going wrong, and adjust and implement actions that will take you closer to the targets, but not change the target per se. So we've come to the end of our session. So basically, this is the last exercise under this module. So all the stuff that we've included in here: your vision, your mission, your business description, market analysis. So this is how you will summarize your business. So you understand what does a vision, what is the purpose, what is specifically to your organization. Then you put the content in terms of what is the vision of this business, and going down, this document. What are the review mechanisms? Your marketing plan. What are you looking? How can you summarize your marketing plan? Your operational plan. In personal investment and skills, what has been done in that regard. So we've reached the end of our presentation. Any comments or questions? Is there anyone still there?
Yeah, we are here.
Okay, all right. Yes. So any comments or questions in what we've covered today and last week? Or you will wait and see when you actually go through with the exercises? Had any conversations? Do you feel that you're marketers now? You understand what goes through the minds or what informs what we usually see out there from a marketing point of view?
More or less.
In a way, I feel it kind of brings the picture together. I'm just trying to link this whole module with what we do as estate agents or principals.